Memorial Day is a pretty special holiday in the United States. This is a day that we set aside to remember the fallen in all of the conflicts that the U.S. has been involved in. Now, typically on Memorial Day, I'm spending time with family and visiting local cemeteries. Originally, the holiday was called Decoration Day, started after the Civil War. There's a number of different stories about who started it and where it started. But where it really changed was after World War I, to not include just people who had been killed in the Civil War, but in all of the American conflicts. So it's appropriate that I am where I am today. I happen to be in France this year for Memorial Day, and right now I am at the Somme American Cemetery. Like I said, I am at the Somme American Cemetery here in France. And this is the final resting place to over 1,800 soldiers of the First World War. So I'm just kind of passing through today, but I thought we might stop and spend a little bit of time here, visit a few of the graves, and maybe talk about a few of the stories of some of the men who found this as their final resting place. I've been to several different American military cemeteries, but I can't say that I've ever been to one on Memorial Day weekend. And let me tell you, it is just stunning to see all of these graves that are decorated with these flags, and to have, in a lot of cases here, the pictures of the soldiers out with them. It is really something else. And as always, the groundskeepers here at these military cemeteries do such an amazing job at honoring our soldiers and keeping these places looking nice. The area where the Somme American Cemetery is on the battlefield. Here you can see this soldier in front of us, Elwood Pock. He was in the 27th Infantry Division. Well, the 27th Infantry Division, right here in this very area, suffered 1,000 casualties in one day. So there was some brutal fighting that happened here. There's a lot of 1st Infantry Division soldiers in this cemetery, and a lot of 30th Infantry Division soldiers in this cemetery. So anyway, we're going to walk the ground here and show a few of these graves and tell a few stories and see what we can learn. So one thing that I am really liking that they have done here for Memorial Day is on a lot of these graves, we also have a photo of the deceased veteran to go along with it so that we can put a name with the face. Here is another grave right here. One for a Robert Blackwell, and there you can see him posed up for this picture. Well, Robert Blackwell was also a recipient of the Medal of Honor. His citation reads that when his platoon was almost surrounded by enemy and his platoon commander asked for volunteers to carry a message calling for reinforcements, Private Blackwell volunteered for this mission, well knowing the extreme danger connected with it. In attempting to get through heavy shell and machine gun fire, this gallant soldier was killed. So he was killed there, as you can see, on the 11th of October, 1918. Was in the 30th Division, was a North Carolina boy. Here we have the grave of another Medal of Honor recipient. This is the grave of William Bradford Turner, who was a first lieutenant in the 105th Regiment of the 27th Infantry Division, died September 27th of 1918. His citation reads that he led a small group of men to the attack under terrific artillery and machine gun fire after they had become separated from the rest of the company in the darkness. Single-handed, he rushed an enemy machine gun, which had suddenly opened fire on his group, and killed the crew with his pistol. He then pressed on to another machine gun post 25 yards away and had killed one gunner by himself by the time the rest of his detachment had arrived and put the gun out of action. With utmost bravery, he continued to lead his men over 3 lines of hostile trenches, cleaning up each one as they advanced, regardless of the fact that he had been wounded 3 times and killed several of the enemy in hand-to-hand encounters. Then goes on to say that after all of his pistol ammunition was exhausted, he seized the rifle of a dead soldier, bayoneted several members of the machine gun crew, and then shot another. And when they got to the 4th line trench, he was overtaken and surrounded and killed. Wow. That is really something else. But yeah, here is the final resting place of William Bradford Turner. Here's the grave of a soldier who you probably have never heard of. This is First Lieutenant William Fitzsimons, is how I'm going to say that last name. There's only one M. But William Fitzsimons served with the U.S. Army Base Hospital number 5, which was in support of British forces. You can see he died on September 4th of 1917. He is the first American officer who was killed in action in World War I. Now, to my knowledge, there are only 3 Medal of Honor recipients here in the Somme American Cemetery. And this is the 3rd one, Thomas E. O'Shea, who was from New Jersey and died September 29th, 1918. He was also in the 27th Infantry Regiment. And his citation reads, becoming separated from their platoon by a smoke barrage, Corporal O'Shea, with 2 other soldiers, took cover in a shell hole well within the enemy's lines. Upon hearing a call for help from an American tank, which had become disabled 30 yards from them, the 3 soldiers left their shelter and started towards the tank under heavy fire from German machine guns and trench mortars. In crossing the fire-swept area, Corporal O'Shea was mortally wounded and died of his wounds shortly after. Now, not every soldier who fought in the Great War has a final resting place that is known to us. So here at this memorial chapel at the end of the cemetery, you can see there at the top it says, "To those who died for their country." Inside there is a memorial to 333 men who were declared missing in action. We've seen several markers to unknown soldiers here, and as a matter of fact, there's 138 unknown soldiers here in the Somme American Cemetery, but this one is a little bit unique. As you can see, it says, "Here rests in honored glory 7 American soldiers, known but to God." So beneath this marker are the remains of 7 soldiers of the Great War. And this is also, to the best of my understanding, the most recent internment here at the Somme American Cemetery. These remains were interred in 1972. As I've been walking around, this is the only female grave that I have come across. This is the grave of Helen Fairchild. You can see that she was a nurse and died on January 18th of 1918. And the story of her death is both heroic and tragic. The story is that she found herself on the receiving end of a German gas attack and had a gas mask, but rather than use it for herself, gave it up so that a wounded soldier could use it. And then she died in that attack. We're now at the grave of Harmon Vetter, who was a mess sergeant in the 107th Infantry Regiment of the 27th Infantry Division. Died on November 5th of 1918. And lying next to him is the grave of James Vetter, who was also in the 107th Infantry Regiment of the 27th Infantry Division and died on September 29th of 1918. James and Harmon were both brothers. They are one of 5 sets of brothers here at the Somme American Cemetery, and their mother was kind of one of the forerunners of the Gold Star Mothers Association. Every Memorial Day, people are going to be getting together, and they're going to be barbecuing, and they're going to be going to the lake, and they're going to be having fun and maybe taking advantage of a few sales at the local stores. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. I think that the men who are laid to rest here would want that. They would want people to enjoy their freedoms and to not waste the thing that they sacrificed their lives for. But at the same time, it's also good that we remember. So, on Memorial Day, I would encourage you, or any other day, go to a local cemetery, visit the graves of these men, and take a kid with you, and help teach them a little bit about the men and women who have sacrificed for this country.